everybody, I'm Rhinocio, and today I'd like to present to you this look, which I like to call Dishes. My video is being brought to you from a new corner of my house. Again, it's dark, I'm trying to find places with better lighting, and also, I feel like over time I'm just going to show you guys the full tour of the apartment I'm in, just try every possible corner for recording in. I am back again with more Minerva content. I mean, I did mention I was doing that Mabam thing that my Discord group put together, and so this is kind of what I've been drawing a lot of recently, so bear with me. This is a little bit different than what I normally do though, because I'm doing 3 drawings that I want to be sequential, so kind of like you would do with like a storyboard. Even though the story of TAZ Amnesty takes place in a radio quiet zone, meaning probably nobody has cell phones or uses cell phones regularly, I thought that this joke would be best delivered if it were through Snapchat. Do I see any better? Improved vision. Vision is improved. This is a good look for me. Who's that hiding in the tree? Do people even use Snapchat anymore? I don't know if it's relevant, but I think it's funny. I just got an old-fashioned sense of humor. Circa 2 years ago on the internet. I'm archaic. The Duck Nerva Discord, which is the group that I'm part of that's putting on this thing where we're drawing lots of Minerva content, yada 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 yada. I mentioned this all in the last video. This group has been coming up with great ideas, as far as I'm concerned, for this fandom since like November of last year. I was actually one of the first people on the Discord group, so like, I've seen it grow. One of the early on ideas that somebody pitched was like, what would Minerva do after she was established on Earth? We're like, okay, what if she's a firefighter? Because big buff lady. We went over this in the last video. I'm sorry. I'm like a one-trick pony. So the thought went that Minerva would show up to the forest one day when there's like a fire or something, and she's doing the firefighter thing. Husband working as just the tree guy. Thinking my thoughts out loud in a cohesive way for other people to understand is extremely difficult. Duck Newton, who is a park ranger, just being like, oh no, there's a fire in the park, and then his wife showing up and being part of the thing, but nobody knows they're married, and she goes over and she's like, oh no, there's a tree blocking the way, good thing I'm big and beef and strong, and then like summons husband, like, hey, can you come over and help, because you're also big and beef and strong, because they share magical powers. Just, if you haven't been listening to Amnesty, what are you doing with your life? But honestly, okay, TLDR, so they both flip the log, and everyone's like, whoa, who are these people? Because buff people, and I buy, and and then she walks away, and Duck's still lifting the log, and they're like, whoa, he's that strong! And then everyone's like, wait a second, they're married, what is this? Okay, so maybe this isn't as interesting to other people. I can't help you. So first step, obviously, was to do a sketch. I had a preliminary sketch already kind of done, but it was super rough, so I didn't feel too bad about not recording that part. And I'll apologize in advance because there is a lot of flipping between canvases going on here. I started with sketching the people that I knew were going to be in the scenes because people are way easier for me to draw. I've had way more practice than that. But I knew eventually I was going to have to do a background, so I started with the easy thing. This also helped give me an idea of what kind of depth the image had to have, which seems a little bit backwards. I feel like you're supposed to do like lines of perspective and then build your background and then put your people in it, but when have I ever done anything orthodoxly? Because backgrounds aren't my forte, I decided I was going to make the background as easy as possible for myself. So the sketch, and then the line art, and then the color are actually all exactly the same across the 3 images. I just drew it the first time, and inked it and colored it, and then copy and pasted it across the different images, erasing or modifying things where needed. This, I think, did save me a lot of time in the long run. Though I'm not sure I prefer it to drawing the scene individually each time. When you draw it freehand each round, there's more character, I think, to the image. But then again, just drawing it once and copy-pasting it means that the scene stays consistent, so if this is supposed to be like a real-life scene, then that makes more sense. Pros and cons, I guess. I put a little bit of a luminosity layer in the distance because that's that mysterious fire in the woods we were talking about. And you'll have to forgive me because I did just shade this image by putting a shade layer and airbrushing all over the place, which is kind of messy. It's not the best way to do a shaded scene, but my hands were really bugging me today, so I had to kind of take it easy and do the simplest route towards an image that more or less made sense. These kind of drawings are just made for laughs anyway, so I'm not too concerned about them looking super excellent. It's more about the feeling that you get into them. As I started coloring Minerva's uniform, I realized that I had forgotten details across the 3 images, so coloring it in this order, I think jumping between scenes actually helped me in that sense. I caught a lot more of these inconsistencies. I mean, that being said, I then went and colored a bunch of Duck's colors on the wrong layers. I think one of his color layers is actually on the line art. Oops. And then because I wanted the colors to be more dramatic and hopefully make this look like a nighttime scene or an evening scene, I put a blue overlay layer on top of the image to kind of darken everything up. And then because Paint Tool size is super basic, I jumped over to Clip Studio Paint to put a motion blur on the guy in the front. Then I jumped back to Sai to put these black lines across the screen for the text that Snapchat has. And those were just a normal layer that I put at 60% opacity. And then because I couldn't find any transparent images, I grabbed some screenshots of emojis off a Google search and then erased their backgrounds. I initially started doing this in Clip Studio Paint, but I found it a huge pain in the butt because I'm less familiar with that program, so I switched back to Sai and then did it there instead. And then after a little bit more finagling, this drawing, or drawings, were done. Thank you so much for watching this, guys. If you liked it, please let me know with a like or a comment or something to that effect. It's very helpful. And if you'd like to hang out and see more of this kind of stuff in the future, feel free to subscribe so you can see more stuff here on this channel in the future. Okay, bye. I'm big and wait, I'm big? Making a mess. I'm very good at it. Hello everybody, I'm Rhinocio, and I've got water in my glasses. Hang on! mess. What a ducking mess. What a ducking mess. This fit shows one big ducking mess. And today's outfit, today's look, today's whole thing, today's je ne sais quoi. I'm just rambling. It's very late. I've been busy all day. Am I braining well right now? No!